The legend has returned, folks. Song Jinwoo, our favorite overpowered protagonist, is back for Season 2, and this time he's trading his nap schedule for some high-stakes drama. Smash that like button and leave a comment for Part 2, because the adventure is just getting started. Song Jinwoo's day starts with a rude awakening, literally. His sister, Jinna, calls him early in the morning, shocked to find out that he's still in bed. After all, saving the world doesn't exactly come with a flexible schedule. She reminds him of the parent-teacher meeting at her school that afternoon. Jinwoo, realizing he's completely forgotten, panics and rushes to get ready. When he arrives at the school, Jinna's shock isn't limited to his tardiness. She's stunned by his appearance. Jinwoo looks polished and sharp, the kind of guy who could walk straight onto a runway. Her astonishment is echoed by the girls at the school, who whisper excitedly, calling him handsome. Their eyes sparkle with admiration, and some even try to sneak photos. Jinna, ever the teasing sister, suggests setting him up with one of her friends, but Jinwoo playfully pulls her cheek and tells her to quit joking. Inside the teacher's room, the pair meet Jinna's teacher, who is practically glowing with pride. She hands Jinwoo Jinna's progress report, praising her intelligence and politeness. She's a role model for her peers, the teacher says with a smile. To top it off, she reveals that Jinna's excellent performance on a recent mock exam has opened the door to medical school. Jinwoo, clearly proud, nods along. However, the teacher advises him not to put too much pressure on her. Then, the conversation takes an unexpected turn. The teacher brings up a hypothetical scenario. What if Jinna awakens as a hunter? Jinwoo's expression hardens as he firmly states that he would never allow her to enter such a dangerous profession. The teacher, unbothered by the tension, moves on to ask Jinwoo for a favor: to talk to one of Jinna's friends, Song-yi, and convince her to return to school. Later, Jinwoo meets Song-yi, who recognizes him immediately. She's less interested in hearing about Jinna and more focused on declaring her passion for the hunter's life. Jinwoo, trying to reason with her, points out the harsh reality. As a low-ranked hunter, she can't make a stable living. Sure, you made some money with our strike team, but that was a one-time thing, he says. Song-yi, undeterred, snaps back. Weren't you an E-ranked hunter once too? Jinwoo, realizing this argument won't go anywhere, invites her to accompany him to a gate, saying he has something to show her. Meanwhile, Fang Dong, a high-ranking and bitter member of the Hunters Association, arrives at the airport. His mission? Revenge. Dong is here to settle a score with Jinwoo over the death of his brother Dong Sung, whose team Jinwoo had wiped out during a previous raid. When asked about his stay, Dong makes it clear he doesn't plan to linger. He's focused on his target and doesn't care for subtlety. A Hunter Association member discreetly monitors him, wary of his intentions. Back with Jinwoo, he prepares Song-yi for her first raid at a C-rank gate owned by the White Tiger Guild. This gate is typically used to train freshers. The team includes King Chu, an A-rank tank who makes no effort to hide his disdain for working with low-rank hunters. The team lineup consists of an A-rank, 5 B ranks, 2 C ranks, and Jinwoo and Song-yi as the only E ranks. King Chu scoffs. How long are we going to stand here talking? You know this isn't a field trip, right? I can't believe I'm babysitting E ranks. Jinwoo, unfazed, silently hopes the dungeon's dangers will convince Song-yi to rethink her career choice. As they step into the gate, Jinwoo senses something off. Suddenly, the C-rank gate transforms into a red gate, a deadly anomaly that traps hunters in a dungeon disconnected from the outside world. The only way out is to defeat the dungeon's boss or wait for a dungeon break. Jinwoo tries to take Song-yi out of the gate, but the exit is sealed. Outside, White Tiger Guild leader Bak hears about the red gate and rushes to the scene, visibly shaken by the news. Inside, the team finds themselves in an icy wasteland. Snow stretches as far as the eye can see, and the cold bites through their gear. Jinwoo explains the grim reality of red gates to the group, and the mood turns somber. No one can help us from the outside, Jinwoo says. We're on our own. Just as the group starts strategizing, an ice elf ambushes them, firing arrows. Jinwoo leaps into action, catching an arrow mid-flight to save Song-yi. But another team member isn't so lucky and falls to the elf's attack. The elves recognize Jinwoo's strength and retreat, but the damage is done. King Shu takes charge, dividing the team into smaller groups for survival. However, he refuses to take weaker hunters with him, declaring, "We need to focus on those who can fight." A B-rank hunter, Park, decides to join Jinwoo instead. "Kim didn't even notice the arrow," she says, "but you did. You're no E-rank, are you?" Kim's group heads toward an open field while Jinwoo's team ventures into the forest. The tension escalates as Kim's group encounters ice bears, powerful creatures that overwhelm them despite his leadership. Meanwhile, Jinwoo's group faces the boss of the ice bears. Jinwoo summons his shadow soldiers, but the battle proves challenging. His strongest soldier, Igris, finally steps in, defeating the boss with precision and power. Jinwoo marvels at Igris's strength, thinking, "He might be stronger than me." As Dong continues his search for Jinwoo, he learns of the Red Gate and assumes Jinwoo won't survive. Inside the dungeon, Jinwoo's team celebrates their victory, but their relief is short-lived. The ominous presence of a new, more formidable enemy looms in the shadows. And that's it for episode 1. Will Jinwoo and his team escape the icy dungeon, or will they fall prey to its relentless dangers? We then see that Jinwoo stands triumphantly over the massive death bears, flexing his power as a necromancer. With a simple command, the bear corpses transform into shadow bears, joining his growing army. Outside the portal, Sang explains that the strike force has been trapped for 3 hours, which translates to 3 days inside due to the portal's warp time. Red gates are known for being deadly, so Dong-soo confidently declares Jinwoo must be dead and gets ready to leave. But before walking off, he demands to know why Jinwoo was with the White Tiger Guild in the first place. Sang casually explains that Jinwoo was just a curious acquaintance tagging along to observe a C-rank mission. Dong-soo isn't buying it. Out of nowhere, Dong-soo grabs Sung by the throat, accusing him of hiding something. He knows Sung has a knack for spotting talented hunters. Before things escalate further, Baek steps in, transforming into his battle mode and telling Dong-soo to back off. Dong-soo, unfazed, mocks Baek as a big fish in a small pond. Both Baek hunters then release their overwhelming power, sending shockwaves of terror through the crowd. Sang, panicking, knows an S-rank brawl could flatten the whole area. Despite his warnings, the two clash, and the tension skyrockets. Meanwhile, inside the portal, Kim Chul breathes a sigh of relief after escaping the elves, only to stumble upon the shredded corpses of the death bears. He's horrified and can't believe the weak E-ranks he abandoned could be responsible. Convinced something stronger, like ice elves, caused the carnage, Kim retreats. Back outside, Dong-soo is impressed when Jin Chul intervenes to stop the S-rank battle. Jin Chul humbly admits his arms are still attached only because the two S-ranks held back at the last moment. Trying to calm things down, Jin Chul insists Jinwoo is just a harmless E-rank. He even mentions a recent re-evaluation, confirming Jinwoo's lack of power. Dong-soo dismisses this as a cover-up, still convinced Jinwoo is somehow tied to his brother's death. But if not Jinwoo, Dong-soo's second suspect is the rich and shady Leo. When asked why he's targeting Jinwoo, Dong-soo coldly replies, "It's just an excuse to kill." Before Dong-soo can act, he's called away, muttering that Jinwoo is lucky this time. Inside the gate, Jinwoo's group sits around a campfire trying to stay warm. The peace is broken when a furious Kim Chul storms in, shocked to see the weaklings thriving while his group suffers. Dressed in warm gear and surrounded by food and blankets, Jinwoo's group looks way too comfortable. Kim accuses them of hoarding supplies and blames them for his team's deaths. He targets Park, suspecting she joined the weaker group because she knew the truth. Demanding answers, he starts a countdown, threatening to kill everyone if no one confesses. When no one speaks up, he snaps, screaming Jinwoo's name and preparing to attack. Before he can make a move, Jinwoo appears, instantly overpowering him. The group is stunned as Jinwoo calmly scolds Kim for blaming others for his failures. JINWOO then senses a dark, sinister presence nearby and accuses Kim of attracting even more trouble. JINWOO orders them to drop their stealth. The Ice Elves reveal themselves, with their leader mocking the humans and noting that JINWOO's strength is unusual. To everyone's shock, JINWOO responds fluently in the elves' language. Even he's surprised by this skill, quickly guessing it's thanks to his cheat system. The elven leader explains their presence. One of his men sensed JINWOO's immense power and wanted to challenge him. Before the leader can finish, JINWOO decapitates the challenger, silencing him in an instant. The leader, amused by JINWOO's brutality, taunts him further. JINWOO, uninterested in small talk, launches an attack. The leader skillfully defends himself, and JINWOO realizes this fight won't be easy. The leader smirked and asked JINWOO, "You're no human. Why pretend to be?" Barca explains that elves are driven by a voice commanding them to kill humans, but oddly, they don't hear it when it comes to JINWOO. JINWOO's suspicious now, wondering if this has something to do with his cheat system. Barca tries to talk JINWOO into handing over the humans, saying it's the smart move, but JINWOO isn't here to make deals. He demands to know why the elves are hunting humans. Just as Barca starts to explain, his body glitches like a buggy NPC repeating himself. Creepy, right? JINWOO, unfazed, refuses to back down. Barca warns JINWOO that he's making a big mistake and reminds him the elves outnumber him. JINWOO, being JINWOO, just smirks and summons his shadow army, leaving everyone in shock. Barca mocks the army as useless, but JINWOO doesn't care. The fight begins and it's absolute chaos. The humans in JINWOO's group try to run, but the elves target them. JINWOO steps in, wrecking the elven archers like a one-man army. However, as the battle goes on, JINWOO starts to see why Barca was so cocky. The elves are stronger than expected, and keeping his shadow army alive is draining his magic power. Worse, Barca is clearly stronger than him. When Barca goes one-on-one with JINWOO, even Igris can't tip the odds. JINWOO realizes his regular soldiers won't cut it, and he'll need something stronger. The two formally introduce themselves before clashing. Barca dominates the fight, but JINWOO pulls a slick move by teleporting his blade mid-attack, keeping Barca guessing. The back and forth is intense, but JINWOO gets pushed back. Barca admits he hasn't had this much fun in years, and JINWOO responds by dropping a massive meteor on him, catching him off guard. Meanwhile, Kim Chul, who's been seething in the corner, decides to take a cheap shot at JINWOO during the chaos. But JINWOO's always 10 steps ahead. He orders Igris to create a smokescreen, and in the confusion, Igris takes Kim Chul out for good. JINWOO raises Kim as a shadow soldier, naming him Iron, and the guy wakes up with a scream loud enough to shake the battlefield. Seeing Iron, Barca retreats for a moment, but then he's back, demanding JINWOO and Igris join the fight. JINWOO agrees, and the 3-on-1 showdown kicks off. Barca handles all three with ease, but Iron's constant screaming starts to annoy him. He focuses on taking Iron out, but Iron proves to be a tank, shrugging off every hit. While Barca's distracted, JINWOO takes his chance and lands a clean stab, finally catching Barca off guard. JINWOO gives him credit for lasting this long, but things quickly go downhill for Barca. When he turns to check on his army, he's greeted by the absolute nightmare of JINWOO's shadow army having wiped out his entire clan. Still confident, and maybe a little delusional, Barca thinks beating JINWOO alone will turn the tide. JINWOO tosses a dagger at him, and Barca mocks him, calling it a rookie mistake. That is, until the dagger boomerangs back and destroys Barca's weapon. JINWOO doesn't stop there. He orders Iron to hold Barca in place while his magic soldiers unleash a fiery attack. But, of course, Barca refuses to go down quietly, breaking free and trying to launch a counterattack. JINWOO, however, shuts him down with a decisive strike, reminding Barca that the fight is over. Even after Iron dramatically stomps on Barca's lifeless body, JINWOO has to remind his troops to tone it down. The team finally catches their breath, relieved that the nightmare is over. JINWOO casually tells them it's time to leave, but takes one last look at Barca's body. Outside the portal, Song and Beck are debating whether to pack it up and go home. Beck thinks Kim Chul might still make it, but when the portal opens, only 2 of his guild members, along with Song-yi and the last one, Jinwoo, come out of the portal. Beck's shock quickly turns into confusion about what happened to Kim Chul and the others. Beck demands answers, but Jinwoo, who's clearly exhausted, brushes him off and says, "Ask someone else in your guild." Beck is stunned, interpreting this as a power move. He tries to press Jinwoo, but Jinwoo calmly reminds him that he saved the surviving members and deserves some gratitude. Beck, realizing he's been schooled, apologizes. Afterward, Sang tells Beck how impressive Jinwoo is and hints at recruiting him. Meanwhile, Jinwoo drops Songyi home and she thanks him, excited to see him again. On his way back, Jinwoo reflects on the mission. Despite all the chaos, less than a day has passed in the real world. To his annoyance, all he got for his trouble was a single dagger. He also fails to raise Barca as a shadow soldier, which only adds to his disappointment. The next day, Jinwoo meets up with Leo, who shows up dressed like he's going to a cosplay convention. Before their mission, Jinwoo insists they pick someone up, Songyi. Leo is immediately suspicious of how casual Jinwoo and Songyi are with each other. When Jinwoo asks Songyi if she slept well, Leo misinterprets the situation entirely. Clearly uncomfortable, Leo reminds Jinwoo that Songyi is underage. Jinwoo, oblivious to Leo's concern, brushes it off, leaving Leo even more worried about what's going on. The group finally arrives at a dungeon and immediately stumbles into chaos. While everyone else is busy fighting ogres, Jinwoo stands back. Yu, curious as ever, asks, "What are those things?" Jinwoo, realizing he's explained this before, just says, "It's one of my abilities." Yu isn't satisfied. "Wait, you can summon ghost soldiers?" Jinwoo, avoiding a long explanation, changes the subject. Once the fight ends, Jinwoo snaps his fingers, ordering his shadow army to collect the precious gems. Yu kneels dramatically and begs, "Can I at least help with the gems?" One of the shadow soldiers hands him a pile, and Yu thanks him like he just won the lottery. Meanwhile, on a shipwrecked boat, a warrior is screaming in panic. A man tries to calm him down, explaining that the others are just unconscious. But since they don't speak the same language, his words are completely lost. The guy points to himself and says, "He is a human." Back with Jinwoo and Yu, they head to a restaurant after their expedition to celebrate. Over plates of meat and a couple of drinks, Yu thanks Jinwoo, saying the mission would have been impossible without him. Jinwoo asks about Yu's next move, and Yu explains he's taking a test to become a guild master so he can negotiate with his dad. Jinwoo mentions he'll be out of contact for a while because he has something important to do. As the drinks flow, Jinho reveals he has an older brother, 10 years his senior, who doesn't like him. "We've never really been brothers." Jinho, getting emotional, lowers his head and admits, "I wish you were my brother." The room goes silent for a moment before Jinwoo smiles and says, "All right, we're brothers now." Jinho, tearing up, raises his glass and offers Jinwoo more meat. Jinwoo laughs. "Are you drunk?" Jinho insists he's totally sober. Meanwhile, the authorities arrest a man who attacked others on a shipwrecked boat. Turns out, he's a hunter who got trapped in a portal 10 years ago and somehow ended up in the US. Since he doesn't speak English, a translator is called in, and the authorities suspect he might be a humanoid beast. To investigate further, they request help from an S-Rank hunter, Hwang Dong-soo, based in Washington. The officers struggle to pronounce the prisoner's name, eventually calling him Sung Il-wan. Back to Jinwoo. After returning home briefly, he tells his sister he's leaving again for a month. She teases him, "Since when do you have a girlfriend?" Jinwoo just ignores her. In the next scene, Jinwoo heads back to a place he's been before, the Demon Castle. The last time he was there at level 20, he couldn't beat Cerberus, but now, with his level tripled, he feels confident. He opens the dungeon door and storms in. Right away, he's given a ridiculous task: collect 10,000 demonic souls. Jinwoo sweats at the number but shrugs it off. "Be it 10 or 100,000, I'll take them all down," he says. Meanwhile, Jinho is busy submitting his resume to his dad, asking for control of the Yujin Guild. His dad brings up Jin Sung, his elder son, who had different plans for the guild. Jinho argues that putting an outsider in charge is too risky. His dad then mentions Jinwoo, who was involved in the infamous dungeon tragedy that wiped out Hwang Dong-suk's group. He brings up the recent Red Portal incident with the White Tiger Guild, where Jinwoo became the hero, saving the survivors. He's clearly impressed by Jinwoo and wonders if Jinho is really ready to lead the Yujin Guild. "Do you think you can handle this?" his dad asks. Jinho doesn't back down and insists he's ready. His dad agrees to give him a chance, but adds a twist. White Tiger is trying to recruit Jinwoo after his heroic actions, and Jinho's first mission is to bring Jinwoo to Yujin before White Tiger snatches him. No pressure, right? Meanwhile, Jinwoo is busy in the demon castle, battling his own frustrations. He can't extract demon souls because their mana is corrupted. Hundreds of kills, and he has nothing to show for it. Luckily, he gets written permission to move to the second floor. The dungeon is massive, so big it looks like a city stuffed into a single building. Not wanting to waste energy, Jinwoo summons the leader of the Ice Bears as a mount and names him Tank. Riding on Tank's back, Jinwoo charges through hordes of demons like a boss, clearing the path with ease. Elsewhere, we're introduced to the Hunters Association, which looks more like a luxury resort with gyms and swimming pools. Chahat steps out of the water, turning heads with her beauty, but she's deep in thought. She remembers a meeting with Master Troy Jongin, where she wanted to warn people about flying ants. Yes, flying ants. But Troy shut her down, saying it would cause unnecessary panic. Instead, his focus was on making their guild the biggest and strongest. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo fights waves of ranked demons. They're not individually strong, but they come in overwhelming numbers. The deeper he goes, the tougher the enemies get. Still, he pushes forward, collecting the 10,000 demonic souls needed for his mission. Along the way, he realizes he's running low on food, adding another layer of stress to his expedition. Finally, Jinwoo reaches the 50th floor, where he encounters the boss, the Volcano of Greed. This massive demon radiates power and guards the lower floors like a king on a throne. Meanwhile, White Tiger's manager, An Sang-min, and Park Hee-jin visit Jinwoo's house to recruit him. They only find his sister, who casually mentions he's on a trip. An, being the Sherlock Holmes of hunters, pieces together that Jinwoo hasn't joined any recent raids. His exact location remains a mystery, but An is confident he'll figure it out. Park Hee-jin is impressed by his detective skills, and An smugly says, "It's my job." Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo orders his shadow army to handle the demon horde while he focuses on the boss. His spectral mages rain fire on the battlefield, and Igris, his blood-red knight, tears through the enemy ranks like a tornado. Jinwoo's increased intelligence allows him to summon more soldiers and boost their magical power, making his army nearly unstoppable. As the battle unfolds, Jinwoo notices the Volcano of Greed hasn't moved an inch. Deciding to take the initiative, Jinwoo prepares to strike. But before he can act, the Demon Lord explodes into action, charging at him with blinding speed. Jinwoo moves fast and lands a powerful punch that sends the Volcano of Greed flying across the battlefield. The sheer force of the hit surprises even Jinwoo, as he realizes just how much strength he's invested into his stats. The Volcano of Greed, enraged by the damage, activates its Cerberus ability and charges at Jinwoo with its massive mace. Anticipating the attack, Jinwoo calls for Iron to send over a shield. With the shield raised, he successfully blocks the relentless blows, though the sheer force starts to wear it down, making Jinwoo worry about how long it can hold up. Waiting for the perfect moment, Jinwoo defends until he sees an opening. He breaks free from the demon's onslaught and leaps toward its neck for a decisive attack. However, the volcano counters with a swift strike from its club, nearly ending the fight. Using the hand of the ruler, Jinwoo manages to absorb enough of the impact to survive, though the close call leaves him shaken. Realizing the demon's movements are too unpredictable, Jinwoo decides to exploit its rage. He lures the giant toward a nearby building. As the volcano charges, unable to stop itself, it crashes into the structure. Using the opportunity, Jinwoo climbs the debris and delivers a precise dagger strike to the demon's head, finally bringing it down. For his victory, he earns a fragment of the Tree of Life. Meanwhile, in the United States, Dong-soo arrives to interrogate Sung-il-won. The prisoner speaks first, questioning how much humanity truly understands about portals and magical beasts. He warns that the current threats are nothing compared to a far greater catastrophe that has begun to awaken. According to Sung-il-won, his mission is to prevent the disaster from happening. Ignoring the warnings, Dong-soo presses Sung-il-won for personal information, asking if he remembers his family. The prisoner confirms that one of his children is named Jin-woo. This revelation fuels Dong-soo's determination, vowing to meet Jin-woo again under dark circumstances. Back in the Demon Castle, Jinwoo advances through the upper floors with his shadow army. Along the way, he eliminates Matus, the Soul Guide, adding another victory to his growing list. News spreads about a fight between Sung Il-won and Dong Su. The area is left in ruins, showing the power of two S-rank hunters. Witnesses say Dong Su was defeated in seconds. Reaching the 75th floor, Jinwoo finds himself out of food. Despite his frustration, he reflects on the valuable loot he's gathered. From the 50th floor boss, he gained a powerful earring. From a skeleton enemy, he acquired a necklace. He also obtained the Mirror of Greed, a useful tool for enhancing his spectral mages. Lastly, he found a mysterious key, though its purpose remains unknown. Jinwoo's main goal remains clear, collecting the 3 fragments of the Tree of Life to save his mother. He already has 2, the first from defeating the Volcano of Greed, and the second, Water, from the Echo Forest, earned by defeating Minas. With only 1 fragment left, Jinwoo prepares to continue his journey, determined to complete his mission no matter the obstacles ahead. After stepping through the shimmering portal, Jinwoo checked his inventory. 2 out of 3 materials needed for the Elixir of Life were secured. All that remained was the purified blood of the Demon King. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. To get his hands on that, Jinwoo knew he had to be fully prepared, mentally, physically, and inventory-wise. Thanks to his grueling expedition through the Demon Castle, Jinwoo had leveled up several times. But officially, he was still stuck as an E-rank hunter, which meant he couldn't take on higher-level missions. Frustrated by this limitation, Jinwoo decided it was time to reassess his rank. The next day, at the Hunters Association headquarters, Hyun Kitchell, a cheerful and slightly nosy staff member, eagerly watched the candidates. He loved guessing their ranks before assessments began. Spotting a man in a flashy purple shirt, Kitchell thought, this guy's probably a solid C rank. Then his gaze shifted to Jinwoo. With his casual appearance and calm demeanor, Jinwoo looked like just another E-rank hunter. Nothing special, Kitchell thought, until the evaluation began. When Jinwoo's turn came, he calmly approached the black orb used for assessments. As soon as he placed his hand on it, the orb flashed, blinked, and error. The employee in charge frowned, muttered something about glitches, and tried again. Same result, error. This wasn't a simple malfunction. Something big was happening. The director, alerted by the commotion, rushed in to see what was going on. One look at the error message, and his jaw dropped. The orb wasn't broken. It simply couldn't measure Jinwoo's magical power. Why? Because it was too high. Jinwoo had surpassed the limits of the machine. The room went silent. Everyone stared in disbelief. The director declared that Jinwoo was one of the most powerful hunters in the country, a rank only 10 others had ever achieved. Jinwoo, ever the cool-headed guy, simply nodded as if this kind of thing happened to him every Tuesday. Earlier, Choi had casually asked about the flying ant research. Jinchul explained that the team was analyzing and comparing the structure and magical power of old and new specimens. Fancy words, but the bottom line? Results would take time. Switching topics, Choi brought up the Red Portal raid. Apparently, the White Tiger Guild let an outsider join, and that outsider even defeated the boss. Naturally, Choi wanted details. Jinchul admitted he'd been present but had left before the final moments, so he didn't have much to share. Disappointed, Choi shook his head. Before he could say more, he noticed unusual noise from the hall. Jinchul guessed it was just someone being assessed, but decided to take a look. Choi, intrigued, followed. The scene they walked into was chaotic. A hunter had just broken the assessment machine. It couldn't read his magical power. The director, trying to calm things down, told the hunter to return in 3 days for another attempt. From the sidelines, Kitchell watched, thinking, On called it perfectly. Then, Master Choi Jong-in entered the hall, immediately commanding attention. Jinwoo recognized him as the supreme hunter of fire magic. Choi, meanwhile, observed Jinwoo's overwhelming mana and realized he was the source of the uproar. A guild representative approached Jinwoo, hoping to discuss recruitment, but Jinwoo didn't even glance their way. He walked out as if nothing had happened. Choi, a little embarrassed, asked Jinchul if JINWOO knew who he was. Jinchul confirmed he did. Choi sighed, wondering if he was losing his touch. Before they could leave, Beck, the White Tiger Guild president, arrived, clearly in a rush. Choi quickly pieced it together. JINWOO must have been the one who cleared the red portal. Beck's reaction said it all. That evening, JINWOO visited his mother at the hospital. Sitting by her side, he softly asked her to hold on a little longer. As he stepped out of her room, Jinchul was waiting. The manager admitted JINWOO had completely shifted his perspective. The surveillance team's job was to monitor hunters, but JINWOO was beyond anything they'd handled before. Unmoved, JINWOO asked if they were treating him like a criminal. Jinchul clarified it was just protocol, but even they struggled to handle rank S hunters. Before JINWOO could leave, Jinchul mentioned someone wanted to meet him. Emerging from the shadows, Go-gun-hee, the Hunters Association president, greeted JINWOO warmly and congratulated him on becoming an S-rank hunter. He explained that when the machine failed to assess someone, it could only mean one thing: they had reached the highest level. Gun-hee didn't waste time. The association couldn't compete with the big guilds in wealth or fame, but they needed someone like JINWOO to maintain balance. The 5 major guilds were always at odds, and JINWOO could shift the scales in their favor. Gun-hee shared that he was once Korea's first S-rank hunter. Despite being over 80, he still looked like he could wrestle a bear. He offered JINWOO stability and influence, promising it would be a life-changing decision. JINWOO thought for a moment but declined. He wasn't interested in politics or stability. His place was in the dungeon, fighting magical beasts. Gun-hee respected his choice but felt a pang of regret. If he were younger, he'd have loved to fight alongside someone like JINWOO. With a nod, he let the hunter go. JINWOO, ever focused on his family, headed home. His sister was waiting, and that was what mattered most. After JINWOO left, Go-gun-hee sat in silence, the weight of the encounter lingering. He dismissed the rest of his schedule, feeling an unsettling tension that even years of experience couldn't shake. Meanwhile, JINWOO walked home, lost in thought. The Hunter Association's focus on low-level dungeons wasn't going to help him. He needed more than that. He needed power. His mother's life depended on it, and every step he took now was aimed at saving her. The next morning, Dong-soo woke up in a hospital bed, his body throbbing with pain. The humiliation of his defeat burned more than his injuries. He could still see JINWOO's cold gaze, feel the weight of his foot pressing down as he delivered a stark warning. That moment fueled Dong-soo's determination to face him again, but he knew he couldn't rely on raw strength alone. Artifacts, legendary gear with immense power, became his focus. Once crafted by master artisans, these rare items now surfaced in auctions, fetching astronomical prices. JINWOO, too, had browsed through listings, searching for something that could aid him. But the costs were well beyond his reach, and selling his Orb of Avarice would draw attention he couldn't afford. While weighing his options, JINWOO spotted a notice about a job. Miners were hiring hunters for an A-rank raid. It wasn't ideal, but it was an opportunity. Elsewhere, Go-gun-hee reviewed JINWOO's history. His transformation over the years was startling. The young hunter's dedication stood out. Despite his struggles, he had supported his family, paying for his mother's hospital bills and his sister's education. It was clear this wasn't someone chasing fame or fortune, but someone with a singular, personal goal. At the mining site, JINWOO joined a team of laborers and hunters. The leaders sized him up, noting his lack of experience. This was grunt work, mining mana crystals and cleaning up after battles. Yet, JINWOO didn't mind. He understood that every step, no matter how small, brought him closer to his goal. Inside the dungeon, chaos reigned. A roar shook the cave as Chai Jong-in, the attack team leader, effortlessly conjured a massive fireball that wiped out giant monsters in an instant. "Tanks, your turn," he called. The shield hunters moved swiftly, forming a protective barrier that even enemy fire couldn't break. With the immediate threats neutralized, the team pressed deeper into the dungeon. JINWOO overhears that the attack team is leaving, which means everything in the dungeon has been cleared, except for the boss. Yesterday when he met Chio-jan, Jinwoo already knew the guy was strong, but clearing an A-rank dungeon without breaking a sweat? That's just next level. Meanwhile, Cha Hae-in, the second in command of the Hunters Guild and 9th rank in Korea, walks by the miners. As she passes, she senses something strange in the air and even wonders if President Go is nearby. With the attack team done, it's finally time for the miners and collectors to do their part. Inside, Jinwoo's attention is on a strong magical signal coming from the depths of the cave, most likely from the dungeon's boss. This creature feels stronger than Vulcan and Midas from the Demon Castle, which makes Jinwoo want to head down there right away and test his strength against it. Around him, a group of miners laughs at an E-rank newbie who joined the team. Jinwoo realizes that low-level hunters always get treated this way. Then, a guy bumps into him and acts like he's about to fight. But as soon as Jinwoo shows his mana-filled eyes, the guy backs off, scared. As Jinwoo mines, some workers notice how strong he is for someone at such a low rank. But they don't mind. It's a blessing for the mining team. Later, it's lunchtime, and with everyone taking a break, Jinwoo decides it's the perfect time to sneak toward the boss chamber. He knows if he defeats the boss, the portal will close, and the guild will take a big hit. But he's not going to pass up the chance to take a few hits at the monster first. Just as he's about to move, Cha Hae-in shows up, holding a cloth to her nose and asking, "What are you doing here?" Jinwoo claimed he had gotten lost and ended up in the boss chamber by accident. Cha Ha, not impressed, told him to leave. She explained that this was the boss's chamber and one wrong move could put everyone in danger. As he stood there, Jinwoo realized the rumors about Cha Ha were true. She had snuck up on him without him noticing. Then something strange happened. Jinwoo turned around and Cha Ha blinked. Hadn't he been holding a gun a moment ago? Now it was gone. He casually walked past her, but Cha Ha's instincts kicked in. She asked him to wait and, to Jinwoo's surprise, sniffed him like a curious dog. His face turned red. Cha Ha's nose twitched. This guy didn't smell like the usual hunters. In fact, he had a pleasant scent. She checked his ID and after a pause, told him to be careful on his way out. When Jinwoo returned to his team, they couldn't stop talking about his close encounter with Cha Ha, as if he'd just won the lottery. They explained that Cha Ha was responsible for protecting workers in the dungeon, even covering their lunch breaks. The only quirky thing about her was that she hated the smell of hunters, so she always covered her nose with a cloth. Jinwoo couldn't help but think about how differently she treated him. Like he wasn't a hunter at all. It reminded him of what Baruga had said at the Red Portal. He guessed it was because he was the player, though he still didn't fully understand what that meant. The system on his side gave him some perks, but the rest was a mystery. After his shift, Jinwoo was paid for his work and praised by the boss, who offered him a permanent position. The boss had never seen anyone so naturally skilled. Jinwoo politely declined, saying he'd only come because he had free time. But the boss, ever persistent, invited him back the next day for a double raid. One with a rank A and another with a rank C. Jinwoo agreed, remembering his revaluation was the next day. The boss was thrilled and even offered double pay. Later, Cha Ha contacted the association for info on Jinwoo, but found his data locked. Even more curious, she learned that Master Choi had requested information on him. Why was his data locked? He wasn't even a high-level hunter. As she lay in bed, Cha Ha couldn't stop thinking about him. The strange man with his odd behavior and pleasant scent, especially since Master Choi was also after him. The next day, Jinwoo returned to work and impressed everyone with his skill in resource extraction. The workers felt like they were in the presence of a machine. Lunchtime came and the boss offered him 5 times the usual salary. But before he could respond, Captain Sung Ki-kun approached. He wanted someone from the mining team to join his raid, with hazard pay thrown in. The team leader hesitated, knowing they weren't experienced enough for such a dangerous mission. But Jinwoo, ever the risk-taker, volunteered. His colleagues were shocked. Jinwoo didn't care about the money. He felt like he needed to do this. The captain formally introduced himself, and outside the portal some hunters expressed concern. But the captain reassured them. The main team had already cleared out the stronger monsters. Jinwoo surveyed the secondary team, which included 6 rank A hunters and 3 rank B ones. Inside, the atmosphere was different. Less magic than yesterday's dungeon, but something felt off. That same eerie feeling from the red portal crept over him. A woman in the team noticed his unease. "Relax. The captain and the others are strong. We'll be fine." Before Jinwoo could respond, a deep growl echoed through the cavern. The team immediately went on high alert. Red eyes flickered in the darkness. Jackals. A whole pack of them. The hunters sprang into action, demonstrating tight teamwork. Every move was precise. Every roll was clear. They weren't just strong, they were professionals. The jackals never stood a chance. After the fight, though, something didn't add up. Jackals? In a rank A dungeon? One of the hunters muttered. "They're C-rank monsters. They wouldn't normally survive here." Jinwoo squinted at the jackals. Wait a minute. Were those collars? For a brief second, he imagined some guy raising them like hunting dogs, training them to fetch adventurers' limbs like prized bones. Before he could process the absurdity, heavy footsteps echoed through the cavern. A group of massive orcs emerged, each one looking more pissed off than the last. Their leader didn't bother with pleasantries. He hurled his spear straight at the captain, the sheer force behind it causing the shield to crack like cheap plastic. The team's tank jumped into action, trying to provoke the orcs to focus on him. Bad idea. These weren't your standard dungeon mobs. Instead of charging head-on, they split off and targeted the back line. A mage hurled a fireball to repel them, but the flames barely left a mark. High magic resistance. Just great. A witch managed to bind one of them with a spell, but it was so strong it broke free in seconds. Meanwhile, another mage summoned 2 flame warriors to fight alongside them, a spell that drained a massive chunk of mana. Unfortunately, the summoned warriors weren't doing much. The fighter of the group tried some hand-to-hand combat, only to get swatted into a wall like a ragdoll. The healer rushed in to help, but she was already overwhelmed. The captain, realizing they were getting outclassed, ordered the team to split into smaller groups to avoid being completely wiped out. Just one of these orcs was a match for an A-rank hunter, meaning the B-rank members had no chance. Predictably, one of the lower-ranked hunters had his arm torn off. The witch intervened just in time to stop the orc from finishing the job, giving the healer a chance to work. But before she could finish, an even bigger orc loomed behind her, ready to strike. Then, out of nowhere, the beast collapsed. No one saw what happened, but something had sliced its tendons clean through. As the fight continued, the orcs got slower, their movements stiff and uncoordinated. Jinwoo wasn't officially part of this raid, but he wasn't about to watch these people die. He moved like a shadow, weakening the orcs without drawing attention to himself. With the balance shifting, the team managed to turn the tide and win. As they caught their breath, the healer turned to the captain. "Did anyone else notice something weird during that fight?" The captain frowned. "Yeah, Gina, was that you?" The witch scoffed. "If I had that kind of skill, do you think I'd be stuck casting support spells?" No one could figure out who had intervened, but the witch's gaze lingered on Jinwoo. She knew. She just chose to keep it to herself. The group debated their next move. This dungeon was far more dangerous than expected. Jinwoo fully expected the captain to push forward out of sheer stubbornness. So when Ki-hoon called for a retreat, everyone sighed in relief. But nothing was ever that easy. As they reached the portal, a barrier blocked their exit. The witch examined it and grimaced. "I can undo this," she said. "But it'll take time." That was when everyone felt it. A suffocating wave of magical pressure, thick and oppressive, pressing down on their lungs. Even the B-ranks noticed it. Jinwoo's stomach twisted. Why hadn't they sensed this from outside the portal? Then, things got worse. Some hunters started bleeding spontaneously. The cursed energy seeped into their bodies, attacking them from within. Before they could react, a deep, guttural growl echoed through the cavern. 50 fully armed orcs stood at the ready, their glowing eyes locked onto the humans. The captain, realizing a direct fight would be suicide, tried the smart approach. He stepped forward and attempted diplomacy. The orc leader approached, letting out a guttural laugh before speaking in an ancient tongue. Then his head started spinning like an exorcist nightmare, his eye glowing ominously. "I am Kargalgan," he finally announced in perfect human language. "I have been expecting you." The captain, somehow keeping a straight face, asked. "So, you blocked the portal?" Kargalgan grinned. "Of course. I am a master of curses." "Right, and? Is there anyone here stronger than you?" The orc laughed so hard it echoed through the cavern. Stronger, foolish human, no one surpasses me. Jinwoo had heard that before, usually from guys who died 5 minutes later. The orc chief gives the humans a choice: follow him or die. But Siu knows there's only one real option. Reluctantly, he agrees. As the chief turns to leave, the captain quickly calls for Jinwoo. When he arrives, the captain lays out the plan. The moment the chief returns, they'll strike. Kargalgan won't be able to hold the barrier while fighting. Jinwoo's job is to escape and call for reinforcements. Before he leaves, the healer hands Jinwoo a letter, her will. She asks him to deliver it to her family. This is the life of a hunter, but Jinwoo isn't one of them. He should live. The moment reminds Jinwoo of the double dungeon, where he was abandoned to die, but this time it's different. These people are sacrificing themselves for him. Holding their wills, he silently swears to deliver them. Outside the portal, Cha-Ha looks for Jinwoo. When she can't find him, she asks the team leader, who casually replies, he's inside, working as a carrier. Meanwhile, the expedition follows the orcs to a massive fortress. The hunters are stunned. These aren't just savages, but an advanced civilization. Soon they stand before a grand throne where the orc king sneers at them and growls, "Human worms."
Hunter Cha already thought an E-rank volunteering for an A-rank dungeon was insane. But now, she was certain Jinwoo had a weapon in the boss room yesterday. She informed the chief that she was going into the portal, and when he asked if she needed backup, she dismissed the concern, saying it was personal. As she prepared to enter, she realized she had forgotten her sword. She asked if anyone had a spare, but the chief handed her a rock pickaxe instead. Unsatisfied, she asked if there was anything better, like a sword or a spear, but quickly realized that asking miners for combat weapons was pointless. The chief then questioned if she really wanted to enter the dungeon empty-handed, making her immediately regret her choices. Inside the boss room, the atmosphere was terrifying. The squad understood that if the superior orcs managed to escape, the city would be wiped out in minutes. Their only option was to take down the boss. Yet even his 4 guards looked terrifying enough to haunt their nightmares. The Orc King removed his mask and taunted them, asking if they were scared. The fear on their faces made the question unnecessary. Ki-hoon, summoning what little courage he had, asked why they had been brought there after already surviving 60 orcs. The Orc King simply laughed, explaining that it was for fun. They were going to be killed one by one. However, as he spoke, he noticed something unusual among the humans. Ki-hoon, overwhelmed with fear, screamed that they were merely playthings. He gave the order to attack, but no one moved, frozen in terror. Jinwoo, in a reckless attempt to fight back, charged in alone. It was a terrible decision. The boss conjured an ice spike, launching him across the room, then used gravity magic to slam his head into the ground like a basketball. Just as he was about to deliver the final blow, someone stepped in. It was Jinwoo. He reminded the boss that this dungeon belonged to the Hunter Guild and casually asked if he could just erase all the monsters in the room. An orc attempted to sneak up on him, but instead it was the orc who got tossed aside like a rag doll. Ki-hoon, desperate, begged Jinwoo to save them. The Orc King was intrigued. He acknowledged Jinwoo's strength for a human, but questioned how long he could last. Jinwoo admitted that he had never felt energy this powerful before. The boss seemed excited, until Jinwoo smirked. He declared that the fight would be brutal, but not for him. Without hesitation, he summoned his shadow army, stronger than ever. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, Inspector Jinkool arrived in his limousine, utterly confused. He questioned why Jinwoo had spent the past 2 days working as a miner. When he asked the chief where Jinwoo was, he learned that someone else had asked the same thing earlier. The man who had tried to intimidate Jinwoo looked like he had seen a ghost. The chief revealed that Jinwoo had volunteered as a tank. Jinyo stood there in shock, unable to comprehend Jinwoo's actions. Then, a massive explosion of energy shook the entire area. Inside the portal, Cha wondered how Ki-hoon's team had managed to defeat so many superior orcs. However, if that energy truly belonged to the boss, there was no way anyone would survive. Back in the boss room, the Orc King mocked Jinwoo's shadow soldiers, calling them weak. Jinwoo warned him not to underestimate them unless he wanted to be erased. Activating Monarch's domain, he strengthened his soldiers even further. The mages in the room were stunned. While they struggled to summon even 2 shadows, Jinwoo had an entire army at his command. The Orc King signaled for his orcs to charge. Iron attempted to taunt them, but instead simply smashed them into oblivion. Yagras moved with lethal precision, slicing through the orcs effortlessly. However, the real monster was Jinwoo. The squad could only watch in disbelief, wondering why he had hidden his strength for so long. Apart from Igris, Iron, and Tank, the rest of Jinwoo's shadows were at a B rank level. He needed to eliminate as many enemies as possible before his mana ran out. Then, the boss unleashed the Dragonfire Anthem, obliterating nearly all of Jinwoo's shadows. He ridiculed them as weak puppets, but Jinwoo simply warned him to be careful. His soldiers would continue respawning as long as he had mana. The boss attempted to crush Jinwoo with an iceberg and followed up with a full magic barrage. Meanwhile, the weaker hunters were scrambling for their lives, trying to avoid the devastation. Outside, the association measured the energy within the portal and discovered it was far stronger than expected. They immediately called for reinforcements. Inside, the Orc King laughed, assuming Jinwoo was running out of mana. However, unlike during his class change quest, Jinwoo could now use as many mana potions as he wanted. With his mana replenished, the battle became far more interesting. He extracted the shadows from all the superior orcs he had defeated. Then, locking eyes with the Orc King, he declared that he was next. At that moment, something snapped within the boss. He attempted to utter Shadow Monarch, but before he could, the system forcibly stopped him. His mind went blank, as if it had crashed. Unable to comprehend what was happening, he instead ordered his generals to bring him the heads of the remaining humans. At Hunters Guild HQ, Choi was briefed on the situation. He initially believed Ki-hoon's team would be enough to handle it, but as a precaution, he ordered the strongest hunters to prepare for backup. Back in the boss room, the 4 most powerful orcs charged in. Iron quickly overpowered one, Igris engaged 2 at once, momentarily dropping his sword mid-fight, only for it to return to his hand instantly. Tank struck an orc so hard that it was practically erased from existence. Jinwoo smirked, remarking that his generals were stronger than the Orc Kings. The attack squad attempted to intervene, but the Orc King immobilized them, mocking them as mere side characters unworthy of the main stage. He then unleashed his full power, directing his magic at Jinwoo. However, it shattered upon impact. Jinwoo smirked, unaffected, and declared that he was immune to weak curses. Summoning his mages, he commanded them to destroy the iceberg the boss had conjured. With the power of the Orb of Avarice, their fireballs became even more destructive. A massive fireball detonated right in the Orc King's face. And that only made him furious. Ka arrived right in the middle of the chaos, swinging her mighty pickaxe, and was completely stunned by how many shadow soldiers Jinwoo had summoned. She ran up to the attack squad like, "What the hell is going on?" But even they had no idea. Meanwhile, Kargalgan was done playing around. Dude combined 300 spells at once and swore he'd squash Jinwoo like a bug. He stomped down like a giant, but Jinwoo just scoffed, saying he had bad memories with huge enemies. Talk about rubbing salt in the wound. First, the boss launched a massive fireball. Then, just to make sure, he fired 50 more, wiping out the shadow soldiers and the superior orcs. The boss smirked. "Are you starting to regret it, little human?" Before he could even blink, Jinwoo was already in his face, stabbing a dagger straight into his eye. Then he hit him with the ultimate disrespect. The bigger you are, the easier you are to hit. And to top it off, he added that a mere shaman was no match for an assassin. And let's be real, Jinwoo isn't just any assassin. Dodging attacks like he was in an Indiana Jones movie, he threw 2 daggers that broke the boss's defenses and chained him up with a castle chain. Then, using Kargalgan's own strength, he slammed him into the ground like a ragdoll. Meanwhile, the association's inspector finally showed up to see the action. They said they came to help, but yeah, it looked like they weren't needed anymore. Ta watched in awe, her eyes practically sparkling. "This is the power of an elite hunter, not some rank E scrub," she muttered. Then she asked, "Who even is this guy?" But even Chinchul had no answer. Jinwoo just smirked. Once a mage loses his guardians, he's finished. Right on cue, the Orc King started panicking, screaming that there was no way he could lose in this body. In desperation, he started throwing his own soldiers around. But then, bam! He got slammed faceless into the ground. Game over. The last thing he saw was his former general driving a sword into his chest. And just like that, JINWOO officially cleared the dungeon boss, earning a ton of XP and loot. Even though he soloed everything, he figured it wouldn't look great if he took all the loot for himself. But one thing he wasn't sharing: the boss's shadow. The crowd couldn't believe their eyes. That massive monster that had been terrifying everyone was now kneeling before JINWOO. When it came time to name him, JINWOO completely forgot the guy's actual name, so he just went with Tusk. Not only was this his first elite knight rank shadow soldier, but those superior orcs were way stronger than his usual summons. JINWOO was so busy collecting shadows that he didn't even notice Inspector Wu standing right there. The second everyone snapped out of it, the questions started flying. But the chief quickly shut it down, saying that Hunter Sung JINWOO's situation was top secret. He told everyone to keep quiet and made sure JINWOO's exit was low-key. Before he could leave, Ki-hoon spoke up. He didn't ask why JINWOO had been hiding his power. All he knew was that they were alive because of him. So he straight up thanked JINWOO for saving his entire squad. One by one, the whole crew bowed their heads in gratitude. JINWOO suddenly remembered, oh yeah, he still had to return that healer's journal. Meanwhile, Cha really wanted to talk to him, but before she could, a mage cut in. Vice Captain, why the pickaxe? Cha turned bright red, embarrassed. Do I look weird with this? She asked nervously. Back at the Hunters Guild HQ, Chairman Choi let out a deep sigh of relief. It all worked out. First, JINWOO saved White Tiger, and now he saved them. But Choi still couldn't wrap his head around just how strong this kid really was. He turned to his assistant. Who do you think is stronger, him or me? The assistant didn't even hesitate. Sir, do you really think you could solo an A-rank dungeon like that? Even Choi had to admit, no chance. Their next move was clear. Do whatever it takes to recruit this kid. Later, at a cafe, JINWOO met up with Jinyo and asked, so, how'd the negotiations with your dad go? Jinyo explained that if he wanted to lead, he had to convince JINWOO to join the guild first. Meanwhile, at the rank evaluation building, reporters swarmed in, waiting to interview some guy named Lee Min-soon. He was already flexing about becoming an A rank, but he had no idea what was coming for him. A huge crowd of reporters had gathered, eager to catch a glimpse of Lee Min-sung. Choi and Beck arrived at the scene, surprised by the overwhelming media presence. Curious about the situation, they tried to understand what was happening. The reporters, assuming they had come for Lee Min-sung, speculated that they were there to recruit him for their guild. However, Beck had never heard of Lee Min-sung before and quickly dismissed the idea, clarifying that they had no such plans. Choi, on the other hand, acknowledged that Lee had already signed with the Phoenix Guild, but mentioned that he had come for an entirely different reason. Disappointed by this, the reporters slowly began to leave. Turning back to Choi, Beck brought up the recent incident of an A-rank dungeon suddenly turning into an S-rank 1, which must have caused serious problems. Choi agreed, admitting that while it was tough, the real trouble had fallen on the White Tiger Guild, which had sent unprepared A-rank hunters into the Red Gate. Their conversation soon shifted to JINWOO, who had played a major role in handling the crisis. Both Choi and Beck strongly wanted to recruit him, which sparked a rivalry between them. Just as they were discussing this, someone interrupted with a joke, asking if they were fighting over Lee Min-sung instead. Annoyed, both Choi and Beck denied it. Meanwhile, JINWOO arrived at the venue for his rank reassessment. Seeing the massive crowd, he wondered what was going on. Elsewhere, a group of JINWOO's classmates watched Lee Min-sung's press conference on TV. As reporters began questioning him, Lee introduced himself formally, reading from a prepared script. He confidently announced that he had awakened as a hunter and would soon undergo his rank evaluation. He also stated that he would be working under Phoenix Guild's leader, Guildmaster Lim. One of the reporters asked if this meant he was quitting the entertainment industry to become a full-time hunter. Lee wasn't surprised by the question. He had already assumed he would be ranked as an A-rank hunter. Calmly, he explained that his contract with the guild was for 2 years, after which he planned to return to entertainment with a long list of accomplishments. He confidently declared that he was ready to risk his life in battle. While Lee continued speaking to the media, JINWOO reached the entrance but was stopped by staff, who informed him that the press conference was still ongoing. Just then, Chairman Go arrived and ordered the guards to let JINWOO inside, saying he was his guest. Turning to Lee, Chairman Go scolded him for holding a press conference after being told not to. Without waiting for a response, he led JINWOO inside, leaving Lee fuming at the interruption. Trying to stay composed, Lee quickly apologized to the media and proceeded to his rank evaluation. However, when he reached the entrance, Jinchul stopped him, informing him that another reassessment was already in progress and he would need to wait. Feeling entitled, Lee demanded to be let through, even threatening Jinchul's job. But Jinchul remained firm, warning him not to cause trouble. Lee was left speechless by the unexpected resistance. Inside the evaluation hall, JINWOO passed by Baek and Choi, who were closely observing. Chairman Go explained that they were there to witness the results of a newly discovered S-Rank hunter, the first in 2 years. Everyone was eager to see his strength. JINWOO was taken to a private assessment room, where officials asked him to demonstrate his abilities. Calmly, he summoned a single shadow soldier. One of the examiners asked if this was his only ability. JINWOO acknowledged the question, but hinted that he had far more power than what they had just seen. Recalling reports about JINWOO's skills, Chairman Go encouraged him to reveal his full strength. Left with no other choice, JINWOO summoned his entire army of shadow soldiers. The room fell silent as everyone watched in awe. Choi was the first to react, acknowledging that JINWOO's magic was incredibly dangerous. Baek, overwhelmed, admitted that JINWOO was now even stronger than him. Following this shocking display, JINWOO's rank was officially reassessed, granting him the prestigious S-Rank Hunter title. Holding his new license, he couldn't hide his excitement. Now, he could sell the Spear of Avarice and buy the gear needed for his next challenge, the Demon Castle. Chairman Go congratulated him, recognizing his potential and expecting great things from him. As JINWOO exited the assessment room, Baek and Choi, who had been waiting for him, rushed to congratulate him. Both tried to recruit him into their guilds, but JINWOO showed little interest, stating that he had other matters to handle. Without another word, he left, only to be surrounded by a swarm of reporters. Meanwhile, Song saw the news and was shocked. She immediately told Gina, who was equally stunned to see her brother making headlines. Others also watched in disbelief as the media announced that JINWOO had become the 10th S-Rank hunter. Across the city, even the mining team members were speechless. Watching from home, Juhi felt proud and happy for JINWOO. At the venue, JINWOO found himself surrounded by reporters, struggling to handle the flood of questions and flashing cameras. All attention was now on him, leaving Lee Min-sung completely overlooked. Meanwhile, Jinwoo was having a serious conversation with his father. He admitted that he had failed to persuade JINWOO to reconsider his decision. Thinking back to their talk, JINWoo recalled how JINWOO had firmly stated that he wanted to grow stronger on his own, believing that joining a guild at this point would only slow him down. Instead of joining an organization, JINWOO had invited JINWoo to come along on his journey. JINWoo's father was unhappy with this choice. He reminded his son of the duties he had been given and criticized him for abandoning his responsibilities, including an important project with his brother. He questioned whether JINWoo was making the right decision. After a brief moment of doubt, Jinyo confidently reaffirmed his choice to follow JINWoo, even if it meant disappointing his father. Realizing that Jinyo had made up his mind, his father accepted the decision but warned him that he would now have to take full responsibility for the path he had chosen. Back at the chaotic press scene, Baek and Chua once again offered to escort JINWoo home safely. However, JINWoo declined. Without saying much, he vanished into the shadows, covering his face as he left. Chua was left in shock, while Baek, struggling to process JINWoo's speed, realized that JINWoo's abilities had far surpassed what anyone had imagined. Later, JINWoo visited the hunter auction to buy equipment. He specifically needed something to protect himself from fire, as the dungeon he was about to enter had extreme heat. A seller showed him a cloak and a ring, but when JINWoo asked for the price, he was shocked by how expensive they were. Hoping for a discount, he asked if the price could be lowered. The seller refused, but jokingly offered a challenge. If JINWoo could break a reinforced magic glass, he could take any item for free. The seller confidently claimed that even an A-rank hunter couldn't break it. JINWoo, ready to accept the challenge, started gathering his strength. just as he was about to strike, the seller panicked and quickly stopped him, admitting that he had only been joking. Realizing this, JINWOO paused and asked to see other items instead. As JINWOO walks away, the seller notices something shocking. The supposedly unbreakable glass has shattered, even though JINWOO never touched it. JINWOO examines a dagger, but finds its price ridiculously high. Curious, he shows the seller his own dagger and asks how much it would be worth. The seller estimates it at no less than 100 million, leaving JINWOO speechless. He originally bought it for just 2.8 million gold coins. This makes him realize that the items from the system store are far more valuable in the real world. With this knowledge, he decides not to sell the Spear of Avarice, after all. Before leaving, JINWOO asks to use the washroom. Meanwhile, Baek is deep in thought about JINWOO. He acknowledges JINWOO's strength, but senses that something about him is different. He wonders if JINWOO is a special kind of hunter who keeps growing stronger. Back home, Jinna looks out the window and is relieved that no reporters are around. She happily announces that she can finally go to school. JINWOO asks what's wrong, and she blames him, saying that if he wants to be on TV, that's fine, but he shouldn't drag her into it. JINWOO laughs and casually mentions he'll be gone for a week, starting tomorrow. Curious, Jinna asks why. Just then, Jinwoo arrives, and Jinna asks if he's JINWOO's friend. JINWOO proudly calls himself JINWOO's right-hand man. Seizing the moment, JINWOO grabs Jinwoo and tells Jinwoo that Jinwoo will be working with him for the next week. Jinwoo is caught off guard and protests, saying they never discussed this. But Jinwoo grips him tightly, signaling him to go along with it. Jinwoo hesitantly agrees, claiming they're on an important mission. Later that night, after Jinwoo and Jinna fall asleep, Jinwoo summons his shadow soldiers to guard his sister. As he counts them, he realizes one is missing. The soldiers remind him that he accidentally destroyed one earlier. Shrugging it off, Jinwoo says the remaining 3 are strong enough. He assigns one specifically to protect Jinna. Jinwoo then moves to the rooftop and summons his entire shadow army, ordering them to patrol the area. Watching them, he wonders if he is starting to help society in his own way. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a flying ant monster approaches. The next day, JINWOO and Jinyo set off on their journey. JINWOO scolds Jinyo for running away from home, but Jinyo insists it was his own choice. Curious, Jinyo asks why JINWOO is heading to Donggun Tower, mentioning that he said he'd be away for a week. JINWOO reveals that he's going there to train. JINWOO simply replies that he must get even stronger. Hearing this, Jinho drops him off and leaves him to his mission. JINWOO puts on his water-based ring and wind-based cape, preparing to enter the demon castle. A system message appears, instructing him to collect demon souls, including the soul of the demon monarch, Baran. The reward is a shadow exchange runestone. Excited, JINWOO thinks to himself that this means a great reward awaits. He teleports to the 76th floor where he last left off. Meanwhile, at home, Jinyo's mother talks to his father, expressing surprise that Jinyo left. She asks if he feels lonely now. His father replies that he doesn't, but as he speaks, he suddenly collapses, unconscious. Jinyo's mother watches in horror. Back in the castle, a powerful demon appears. JINWOO immediately prepares his spear and summons Fang, Tus, handing the spear to him. Fang's magical power surges and he unleashes a fire attack, reducing the demon to ashes in one strike. Surprised by Fang's strength, JINWOO decides to let him keep the spear for now. In another scene, Jinho's mother tells his father that Jinho came to visit, but she reassured him that he only fainted from overwork. However, Jinho's father remembers the doctor's words. He has entered an eternal slumber and may never wake up. The doctor explains that people with low magic resistance who are exposed to magic for too long can develop this condition. He asks if any relatives are hunters. Jinho's father replies that his son is a hunter, but the doctor says they are not yet certain if that's the cause. Reflecting on this, Jinho's father wonders if, in a world full of magic, his complete lack of resistance means he is no longer fit for this world. Meanwhile, some hunters are patrolling when a giant ant monster suddenly appears, watching them closely. JINWOO, now deeper in the demon castle, has defeated many demons and leveled up. He split his shadow soldiers into 6 teams and assigned them different tasks. Each team operates separately to wipe out all enemies, and once an entry permit is found, they report back to him. He knows he can't collect other items this way, but his progress is much faster. However, after 2 days on the 80th floor, something is wrong. His MP is dropping fast, meaning his soldiers are being wiped out. Realizing that his high-orc Team A is under attack, he teleports to their location, only to find that Team B has also suffered losses. The enemy is clearly strong, but something doesn't add up. Fang's team was with Team A, so how did Team B get attacked, even though they were far away? This suggests the enemy is avoiding Fang and targeting weaker teams instead. That means they are not only strong, but also intelligent. As JINWOO analyzes the situation, the scene shifts to a group of demons attacking his bear-like team, quickly overwhelming them. Using his stealth skill, JINWOO observes the battle. Seeing the demon's strength, he decides it's time to intervene. One demon lunges at him, but JINWOO swiftly dodges, spins, and kicks it away. Drawing his dagger, he eliminates multiple demons, gaining more levels. He muses to himself, "He always wondered if magic beasts felt fear. Now he knows they do." JINWOO was engaged in a fierce battle with the demon leader. Just as he was about to land the finishing blow, he suddenly heard a desperate plea. A girl's voice called out, surrendering and begging for her life. This shocked JINWOO, as demons typically could not speak. Intrigued, he removed the demon's mask, revealing an elf-like female demon. She pleaded for forgiveness, but JINWOO, unimpressed, pointed out the contradiction in her actions, attacking them first and now begging for mercy. He reminded her that he had already slain her allies. The girl explained that as their leader, the other demons had wanted her to survive. As JINWOO turned to leave, she seized the opportunity to attack him from behind. However, Tusk intervened before she could land a hit. Realizing she was outmatched, she begged once again for her life. JINWOO questioned her about the permit needed to proceed to the next floor, and she revealed that her family possessed it. She promised to hand it over in exchange for their safety, and claimed to have knowledge of permits for other floors as well. JINWOO, skeptical of her sincerity, demanded to know if he could trust her. Terrified, she assured him that he could. Seeing her fear, JINWOO agreed to spare her in exchange for the permit. Meanwhile, on a distant island, a terrifying ant queen left a trail of destruction. She had devoured countless people, and once satisfied, flew away, leaving behind a devastated landscape. Back in the demon castle, JINWOO asked the demon girl for her name. She introduced herself as Esiel from the Rade family. Curious about her nature, JINWOO inquired whether she ever heard a voice compelling her to kill humans. Esiel hesitated before admitting that while it was not a literal voice, there was something that urged them to protect the area. When JINWOO asked how long she had been hearing it, she explained that it had been present since her arrival. Surprised by her choice of words, JINWOO pressed further, questioning where she had been before. Esiel revealed that she once lived in the demon realm. Before she could explain further, her body suddenly stiffened as if controlled by an unknown force. Struggling, she managed to reveal that they had been preparing for war. When JINWOO asked who the enemy was, her voice became strained as she whispered about a powerful force that required the entire demon world to unite. Before she could say more, she collapsed from exhaustion. JINWOO realized that the system was actively preventing her from revealing any further information. At Hunter headquarters, an emergency meeting was held regarding the Ant Queen's devastation. Reports confirmed that she had killed 294 civilians and several hunters, including C-rank and B-rank individuals. A powerful A-rank hunter had eventually been deployed to eliminate the threat, confirming that at least an A-rank hunter was required to deal with these creatures. The association chairman warned that their island was only 120 kilometers from Jeju Island. If the ants learned to fly, their first target would be the southern coastline. The urgency of the situation led to an immediate decision to contact Japan, as they faced the same threat. The fourth raid operation on Jeju Island was then announced. Back in the Demon Castle, JINWOO and Esiel finally arrived at her family's stronghold. The moment they stepped inside, Esiel's father, the Demon King, sensed JINWOO's hidden army. He immediately warned his daughter about the presence of numerous soldiers lurking in JINWOO's shadow. JINWOO was impressed by the Demon King's keen perception. The castle guards, believing Jinwoo to be a threat, drew their weapons, assuming he intended to capture Essel and take over the castle. However, Jinwoo quickly clarified that he had made a deal with Essel. If they provided him with the entry permit for the 80th floor, he would not harm anyone. The Demon King, knowing of Jinwoo's victories against powerful enemies like Vulcan and Metus, understood that resisting was futile. Reluctantly, he handed over the 80th floor permit and ordered Jinwoo to leave. Before departing, Jinwoo made it clear that he intended to take something else. The Demon King grew enraged, assuming Jinwoo meant his daughter. However, Jinwoo clarified that he simply wanted Essel to accompany him, as she possessed knowledge about all the floor permits. The Demon King, still wary, demanded reassurance of her safety. Jinwoo confidently promised that no harm would come to her. Meanwhile, at Hunter headquarters, researchers began dissecting the Ant Queen's body for analysis. The Guildmaster observed closely, assessing the threat these creatures posed. Back in the Demon Castle, Jinwoo had conquered most of the floors and had now reached the 89th level. His shadow soldiers, Igris and Tank, had grown significantly stronger, rivaling S-Rank and A-Rank hunters. Essel, preparing for the upcoming challenges, examined various items and gifts, hoping to use them as bargaining tools for the 90th floor. She suggested bringing alcohol to negotiate with the demons there. Jinwoo dismissed the idea, asserting that strength determined respect in the Demon Castle. He reasoned that if he had been weak, the demons would never have handed over the permits or negotiated in the first place. If necessary, he would simply take over by force. Curious about his intentions, Essel questioned why he had spared her family when he could have simply killed them. Jinwoo smirked and revealed that it was because he liked her. Essel, caught off guard, blushed heavily. Jinwoo, however, found her personality somewhat peculiar, but admitted to himself that he got along well with people like her. Concerned about the dangers ahead, Jinwoo advised Essel to return home. However, she refused, wanting to witness his strength firsthand and see him grow even stronger. Determined to prove herself, she insisted on accompanying him. Jinwoo accepted her decision, and as they reached the 90th floor, they encountered an increasing number of powerful beasts. The battle intensified, but Jinwoo dispatched them with ease. Meanwhile, we see Choi Jung-in meets Cha-hae and gives her information about the Jeju Island raid. He tells her that all S-Rank hunters must participate. Cha-hae realizes that this means Sung Jin-woo will also be going. Choi Jung-in confirms it. He explains that their goal is to eliminate all the ants on Jeju Island. He also mentions that they have a meeting with top-tier hunter guilds later that day. Meanwhile, Jinwoo reaches the 100th floor. A massive dragon appears, carrying Baran, the demon monarch. Baran is extremely powerful. Jinwoo senses Baran's overwhelming aura. Even Essel can feel it. Jinwoo begins to doubt whether he can defeat him. Baran is even more dangerous because he rides a wyvern named Kaiseline. Jinwoo realizes that Baran can control both demons and dragons. Baran summons multiple portals. Demons emerge from them and surround Jinwoo and Essel. Essel becomes terrified. The demons charge forward. Jinwoo activates his monarch's domain and summons his shadow soldiers. A fierce battle begins. Essel is shocked by Jinwoo's power. She realizes he is much stronger than she imagined. However, she is conflicted. She is a demon, and Baran is the Demon King. She wonders if she should side with her king or with Jinwoo, an outsider. According to the rules, she should kill Jinwoo. Baran has a terrifying ability. He can release lightning from his mouth, creating an electrical storm. It causes massive damage to the shadow soldiers. A bolt of lightning is about to hit Essel. Jinwoo shields her with his cape. He realizes that this lightning is extremely powerful. If he gets hit again, he will lose all his mana. He decides to attack the wyvern's wings to bring Baran down. Jinwoo moves forward using his stealth mode. He plans to cut off the wyvern's wings. However, Baran predicts his attack and easily sees through it, even though Jinwoo is invisible. Baran then launches dangerous homing attacks that keep chasing Jinwoo. At that moment, Igris and Tusk try to help. Tusk creates a massive fireball with his orb, while Igris throws his sword to bring down the wyvern. However, they are both struck down, and Jinwoo falls to the ground. Finally, Baran also lands on the ground. Jinwoo smirks and says that it's a good thing Baran has come down, because watching from above for so long, had made him really tired. Meanwhile, at the Hunter Association, the Drawn Sword Guild arrives. A woman named Hanekawa introduces Goto Ryuji, the guildmaster. Gogun-hee explains that Japan's largest guild has arrived. Their aura is intimidating. The guild consists of many S-rank hunters, making them one of the strongest in Asia. They begin discussing strategies for the Jeju Island raid. Hanekawa shares two key details about the ants. The first is their lifespan. Ants grow rapidly, but only live for a short time. If the queen is killed, all the ants will die soon after. The second is their attack pattern. In previous raids, they observed that ants always target the strongest hunters first. Using this information, they form a strategy. Japan's rank hunters will distract the ants, while South Korea's team will eliminate the queen. However, this plan is extremely risky. Thousands of ants will swarm the hunters. Goto Ryuji assures them that they can handle it. Back at the Demon Castle, JINWOO and his shadow soldiers continue battling Baran. Baran's lightning attacks devastate the battlefield. JINWOO struggles to recover his mana. Baran grabs JINWOO by the head and lifts him off the ground, preparing to strike. At that moment, Igris and Taskuroda intervene. They give JINWOO a chance to regain control. Now, JINWOO and Baran face off in a one-on-one fight. Baran pulls out two daggers. The battle becomes intense. JINWOO's daggers are knocked away. He is forced to block with his bare hands. Baran unleashes another lightning attack. However, Esil throws her spear at Baran, distracting him. JINWOO seizes the opportunity to use Ruler's authority. He gathers all his strength and rips off Baran's arms. Then, he lands a devastating punch that destroys Baran's face. A massive explosion of energy follows. JINWOO has finally defeated Baran. He receives a notification allowing him to extract Baran's soul. However, JINWOO is completely exhausted. After fighting through so many floors, he collapses from fatigue. Before leaving, he tells Esil to go home and inform her father that the Radir family now rules the Demon Castle. Esil gets emotional and corrects him, saying it's pronounced Ro, not Radir. With that, the episode concludes. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.